because we have two different races represented, district races. One is the Roseville Joint High School District, and the other one is the Eureka Union High School District. So I'm hoping some of the questions are general enough that we can ask all of our candidates, but there may be some specific questions to a school district that you want to pose. And if that's the case, if you would put the name of the school district or the initials or something up on the top of your card so that as we're sorting the questions, we can try and make sure that we're balanced and each candidate has an opportunity to answer the same number of questions. In the interest of time and decorum, I'm going to ask the audience to please refrain from applauding or making comments. Sometimes you can't help but laugh. But if you could please be silent during the proceedings, it will save time. We'll be able to get through a lot more questions, and it will create a more civil atmosphere for us. So, and please silence your cell phones. I have not done that myself, so I'm going to reach down and do that. But if you would please turn off your cell phones, we'd appreciate it. So now I'd like to introduce the candidates. For Roseville Joint Union High School, we have Paige Strauss. Stous, thank you. Gary Genslinger, Jan Pinney, and Renee Aguilera. For Eureka Union School District, we have Renee Nash, Ryan Jones, and Christy Grease. Thank you all for participating tonight. So now we're ready to begin. I apologize that it's warm in here. I understand that there's a mandate that the thermostat has to be set at 78, and when the doors are open, it actually goes off. So it is going to be a little warm in here. I'll try not to pass out myself, but please bear with us. So why don't we go ahead with opening statements, and we'll begin with Ms. Stous.
Good evening, and thanks to the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight. 8 years ago, I ran for the high school board because the high school district seemed to be in turmoil and was really concentrating on social issues, and I think that the job of the high school district is to concentrate on academic issues. So Gary, Jan, and I were all elected and went to work at repairing relationships and building. The first thing that we had to do was to build an environment of trust so that we could actually get some work done. And we did that in the first couple of years. And we have a great relationship of collaboration in the district between the staff and the teachers and the administrators and the board. Since then, we've really had some challenges, but we've done some pretty incredible things, including bringing in our International Baccalaureate program. But the thing that I'm most proud about in our school district is that we have managed our finances very well in spite of this economy, so that we've not had the losses that a lot of other districts have. And I'm quite proud of that. When I was first elected to the board, I had 2 kids in high school and 2 in college. It's been 8 years, and they're all out of college now, but I still feel passionate about what I do. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Genslinger?
Mr. who?
Genslinger.
Oh, Genslinger, kind of like gunslinger.
Sorry.
Y'all hear me? Okay, I'm not going to repeat the same thing Paige has. She and I came to the board at the same time 8 years ago. I have been here since the 60s, and I'm not going to tell you anymore as far as specific years that I came here in Roseville. But I've seen a lot of changes here and so on. I was on the Eureka School Board from 1979 to 92, so if I forget which board I'm running for, just, go easy on me. But been on the South Placer Fire Board, lived out here. I retired again in 2004 after 39 years in education. I was a teacher, coach, and counselor. I was a counselor for 27 years. And the reason I ran for the board back then is because I saw things that were happening that made me very uncomfortable. I felt the district had lost focus. my focus and the board that I'm presently serving with, the people on the board, we put students first. And I think the previous board back then had lost their focus. It's supposed to be about students. That's why we're in education. That's why we're on the school board and so on. And I'm proud to say that with the board that we presently have and the two people, one sitting on each side of me, I think we've done an outstanding job of putting it back where students are our number one priority. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Penny?
Hi, I'm Jan Penny. I originally got involved in schools about 20 years ago when I was one of the founding board members of the Eureka Schools Foundation. After serving on that board for a couple of years, Mr. Feist, Dr. Feist, and the sitting Eureka board asked me to put my name in to be appointed to the high school board. That was 17 and a half years ago, and I've been serving on the high school board for the last 17 and a half years. These two people to my right are phenomenal people. We today, and I've served with 17 and a half years on the board, we have the best board today we've ever had. We're collegial, we're supportive of one another, and we're focused 100% on students and student achievement. I urge you, if you don't want to vote for me, to at least vote for the two of them. What I bring to the board is a business background. I own a small business in Roseville. I've been a resident here for over 30 years. I understand finance. I understand the need for innovation. From a financial standpoint, we are without a doubt the best financial condition of any of the surrounding districts. We just got the highest rating from Moody's that they offer to a school district. We actually just let a bond go. Does that say 30 seconds? Thank you. We just borrowed some money, and we did that at 0.44% interest. We actually earn more. We have to borrow, by the way, because the state doesn't have the money to pay us that they say that they owe us. And so I'm in a situation, or we're in a situation as a board where we're actually making money on money we borrow because the county pays us more than we have to pay. Innovation is the most important thing that we do with IB and many other things, International Baccalaureate. I think we do a wonderful job, and I see a stop sign, so I'm going to stop. Thanks.
Mr. Aguilera?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Renee Aguilera, no relation to Christina Aguilera of The Voice, but I do watch that show, and I love that show. I'm the new kid on the block. I represent the new generation of the students that are coming up in Roseville. I mirror a lot of them. I'm running for the Roseville Joint Unified High School District because I want to get involved in getting and increasing parent involvement, especially with English language learner parents. I also want to encourage new revenue ideas. I also want to promote a higher education culture for our students and make school safety a priority and connect students to college and career-ready pathways. Having been on the elementary school board for the last 10 years, I feel I have something to offer in the areas of school curriculum, school reform, and school governance. I can help the Roseville Joint Union High School District become financially stronger, move toward unifying community-derived strategic plans at every high school to personalize and improve student achievement, and help continue to restore programs that support student learning, like the peer learning program at Oakmont and Roseville High. I was born and raised in Roseville. I went to Roseville Public Schools. I was student body president at Roseville High School. My two brothers were student body presidents at Roseville High School. We all graduated from UC Davis, and we're very proud to live in Roseville. I ask for your vote for Renee Aguilera. Thank you.
Ms. Nash?
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Renee Nash. It's been my privilege to live in the Granite Bay Roseville community for almost 20 years, and like many of you, I moved here because we have a phenomenal school district. The reason I'm running is that our school district can be better, and without the right leadership, it can also be worse. While the EUSD has enjoyed the reputation as one of the finest districts in the region for 20 plus years, we have no God-given right to maintain that excellence, and without the right leadership, that will not continue to occur. I have an extensive background serving this community for a decade and a half, including 7 years on the board of directors of the Eureka Schools Foundation, a year and a half of which was spent as president. I was innovative in significantly increasing the amount of funds we were able to raise and provide to the district, taking us from about $400,000 or $450,000 a year up to $650,000 a year. I instituted a district-wide script program to bring more revenues back to the school sites. And when the district decided it could no longer afford the Summer Institute for teachers, ESF stepped up and said training our teachers is absolutely essential, because the first and most important thing in any education are the teachers in the classroom. I'm a respected community leader, and I am proud and honored to have the endorsement of the architect of this phenomenal district, Dr. Ronald Feist, and virtually every former trustee that has served this district over the last 20 years. I love serving this community because I love this community. And without service, there is no guarantee that our community will continue down the road of progress as a leader that it has been. So when you go to the polls, I ask you to support me and my friend and running mate, Mr. Ryan Jones. Thank you.
Mr. Jones?
Yes, thank you. Good evening. My name is Ryan Jones, and I'm grateful for all of you that are here tonight. And the question I would ask if I'm sitting in your shoes is why would anybody want to sit up here and run for an unpaid position? Well, I tell you that because I personally am running because I have an absolute vested interest in the quality of education in our district. I personally have 3 young kids in the district now, as well as a 9-month-old baby who will be coming into the district in about 4 years. So my family is going to be in this district for at least the next 12 years. And so it gives you an idea of as to what kind of interest and vested interest that I have in the quality of education in this district. And I look at your kids the same way I look at my own kids. What can we do to provide the best education that we can? The good news is we have a great district. We have phenomenal teachers, a great superintendent, great principals, and awesome parents. So the good news is we're there. The question is, what are we going to do in the future? And I think what I can bring to the table is more that forward thinking, that creativity to try to take us to the next level. And what I have personally is that business background. I do manage my own law firm here in Roseville, so I know what it's like to be creative, because if you're standing still, you're moving backwards. And our parents in our district, if they're not happy with the quality of education here, they're going to go somewhere else. So I'm all about customer service for our kids. The other thing I think I provide is leadership. And part of that comes from my background in the military. I was active duty for several years, and now I'm a reserve officer in the Air Force. And what I think that gives me is the ability to have sound judgment, to not get swayed by maybe the loudest voice, but by doing what I think is the right thing to do. And the bottom line is that I'm all about Team Eureka. I firmly believe in this district. I think we're on a good path. Actually, I think we're on a great path, but I think I can help launch us into that next stratosphere. So thank you.
Ms. Grease?
Yes, my name is Christy Grace, and I have been serving on the Eureka Union School District for the last 4 years. And when I ran 4 years ago, I did so because I have a passion for the cause, which is the children and our community. And today, I seek re-election for the same exact reasons. In addition, I also recognized a clear and obvious necessity to change the way that the board and district business is done and conducted. I've been part of the changes that have begun to occur, and I'd like to have the opportunity to continue in this positive direction that focuses on putting children first. Currently, public schools throughout the state of California, including ours, have faced enormous and continual hits with respect to educational funding. This has created some of the most difficult challenges in the past few years, and I anticipate that we will see similar challenges in the upcoming years. Integrity and transparency in all that we do and in each decision that we make must be paramount in what guides us. School board dialogue, discussions, expenditures, accounts, and revenue sources need to be disclosed and decipherable to all stakeholders. Our district is doing extremely well. We have an overall academic performance index of over 900 at each of the schools in our district. We are employing the most current and effective curriculum programs. And although we are experiencing declining enrollment, never in the history of our district have we had more inter-district transfer students than we do today. We have exceeded our demographic projections. Parents want their children to be educated in our schools and by our teachers. We're aggressively addressing the deficit in our budget by using a top-down approach. We should have a balanced budget by the next year. We've done more with less before, and we will do it again. Thank you very much.
Okay, and now we'll start with some questions from the audience. Do we have some questions? Want to bring them forward? While we're waiting for some of the questions to get up here, I have a generic one that I would like to ask all of the candidates. And we'll begin with Ms. Stous. The state budget problems have resulted in fewer dollars for our schools. Please describe how you approach this challenge and how you would do more with less.
I think that for the last 3 or 4 years, we've been doing an outstanding job doing more with less, and I suspect that we're reaching the point where unless we completely change how we deliver instruction, that we will probably not be able to continue that. I think we're at a critical juncture in funding of schools in this state. And how we decide what we're going to do is by collaboration. We collaborate with our staff. We hold forums asking the community if they have concerns and suggestions. But primarily we have an incredible administrative staff that makes well thought out recommendations. We have things in our school district that other school districts lost years ago, so we're pretty proud of that.
My answer to that question is some of the things that we have done to save money. We have cut the number of administrators that we have in the district. We have given more work to the existing ones. We have actually, believe it or not, had teachers turn off their computers at the end of the day or during the weekend. We saved $300,000 approximately just by turning computers off on the weekend when they're not being used. The good part is we have not increased the student-teacher ratio, and we have not given pink slips. We have not had to provide or come up with furlough days, and we've been able to educate our kids and bring new programs such as the IB to the district and so on. So I think we've done a phenomenal job of working together to make this happen.
We're a very well-managed district. We have $20 million in reserves. However, we have to figure out how to do things different than we've been doing them. If you look at the school day and the school year, it was first established in about 1885. So we've been doing the same thing for 127 years, and that has to change. We need to figure out how to do things different. If I ran my business the same way that I ran it just 2 years ago, let alone 100 years ago, I wouldn't be very successful. So luckily we have a great board that's innovative and open to ideas. We have great administrators, great teachers. By the way, in the last 10 years, the Placer County Teacher of the Year has come from the Roseville Joint Union High School District 8 times. That's like batting 800. We're proud of them. We work well together, and I think we can make it work.
Again, Renee Aguilera from the Roseville City Elementary School District. I've been on that board for 10 years, and if Proposition 30 does not pass, we're going to lose about $4.5 million in the Roseville Joint Union High School District. If Proposition 30 does not pass, it's going to be close to $6 million. It's going to be very devastating. Of course, I want you to vote for me because I have experience in budgets for the last 10 years, and I've been walking precincts near Antelope, near Wood Creek, as well as Roseville High. I haven't at Oakmont and Granite Bay, but you'll be seeing me in your neighborhood, and I'll be asking you to vote for me and to vote yes on 30.
Thank you. I'm an educated business person with substantial background in finance and budget management and have been studying the district for the last 7 years, working closely with district staff through the Eureka Schools Foundation and trying to find innovative ways to fund the programs that the state no longer provides. Under my leadership, I've shown that there is still untapped revenue to be raised through private sources. I think there's a lot more opportunity to engage in corporate partnerships to bring needed resources, both in terms of money and technology, into our classrooms. And more can be done creatively through better cooperation with our teachers as well. I also believe that there are some revenue sources that have been untapped in our district. We have some facilities that are not being fully utilized. I believe there are significant transportation savings that can still be achieved. And with my knowledge of the district and my business background, I will hit the ground on day one and ensure that budget is balanced. Thank you.
Well, I think I too bring that business background, the idea that you've got to be creative, you've got to find ways to be more streamlined in what you're doing. But it doesn't go back to my core principle. I think is what made this district so great, and it's one of the hallmarks of it is our low class sizes. So I think what you've got to analyze of doing more with less is continue to keep that to be your benchmark. And so I think if you continue to try to keep those class sizes low, you look at what else is out there. And our board has done a good job of finding some of those cuts. And over the past few years, we have made some cuts, but there are more out there, and we're going to have to find more, especially if the ballot initiatives don't pass. So to me, it's really more about finding anywhere besides cutting in the classroom.
Ms. Souza, would you mind repeating the question? I want to make sure I answer the question correctly.
Sure. The state's budget problems have resulted in fewer dollars for our schools. Please describe your approach to doing more with less.
Thank you. Well, we've done a number of things. We've slashed millions of dollars in spending from our budget, and I actually agree with Ms. Nash and Mr. Jones that we do need to find additional sources of revenue. We need to continue to look for savings, but some of the things that we have done already is we've done electrical retrofits. We've worked with the water district. There have been a number of ways that we have already addressed this. We have streamlined our administrative costs. Our administrative district office was too large for the size of the district that we have, and I feel that we've already done quite a bit in that area. Thank you.
Okay, for our next question, we'll begin with Mr. Penny. And this is a question I think all the candidates can answer. There are, as you know, two ballot measures this November that have to do with taxes and providing money to schools. Will you advocate for the passage of one of those propositions, and which one, and why or why not?
No, I think that giving more money to our legislators is like giving more booze to a drunk. I think we pay plenty of taxes already. I think if you look back, all the way back to 1917, when Congress and the president at that time tried to raise taxes or tax rates to increase revenue, you'll find that revenue actually went down. So think about it. Tiger Woods, who makes $100 million, if he lived in California under the new tax law, either one of them would be paying $13 million a year in taxes. So what did he do? Most very rich people have other options. He lives in Florida today, and we don't get any tax money from him. If our tax rates were more reasonable, I believe personally that he may still live in California where he was raised. I believe that we're to the point where we are chasing away businesses by having tax rates that are too high.
Okay, Mr. Aguilera?
Yes, I'm going to talk about two initiatives. One that I just talked about when I told you I was doing going door to door and asking people to vote for me, Renee Aguilera for Roseville Joint Union High School District, and also Yes on 30. Jerry Brown says, join me in investing in our kids and their future. Proposition 30 will prevent deep school cuts, guarantee local public safety funding, and help balance the budget. So I'm asking you and all the people that are watching this online, please vote yes on Proposition 30. I'm a member of the California School Boards Association. Our local school board did a resolution 5-0 because Proposition protects funding for schools and public safety. And I'm also asking you to vote no on 38. That's the middle class tax hike that taxes everyone over that earns $7,317.
Ms. Nash?
Thank you. The short answer is no, I don't support either initiative, not because I don't believe that there needs to be more money for public education, but I worked as a legislative advocate for 5 years. I've seen the sausage-making process, and I don't believe that the initiative process makes good laws. They tend to result in a lot of litigation, and there tends to be a lot of loopholes within the language of those initiatives, which in the end doesn't necessarily guarantee that the money comes back to the local schools. I would like to see more money, and I am personally prepared to pay more taxes, but the way I would like to see that is through a local parcel tax, where our local dollars come back to our schools, and the taxpayers that live here benefit from the quality schools and from the increased property values that are historically associated with living in the Eureka Union School District. Thank you.
Mr. Ryan?
Sure. I too have a personal philosophical problem with adding more tax. So I would be opposed to them. And part of the reason is because I think it requires a faith test to know that the legislature really is going to use those funds for the benefit of education. And so far there's been a history that I've just not seen that from our legislature. I think the money would go into the general fund and go into somewhere else that they owe lots of money. The other thing is I just, it's a philosophical issue that I understand where it could be good with districts, but from a personal standpoint, I just can't support additional taxes.
Ms. Grace?
Thank you. Think of how much we spend in California, and here's a sobering fact. This year, California will spend less per child on an education than any other state in the United States. This is an issue that needs to be resolved at the state. I'm in favor of legislators actually doing the job that they were elected to do and fully fund education, stop passing the buck onto the voters. I am not in favor of a parcel tax. I do not feel that that is the solution to our educational funding problems. And it has been overwhelmingly shown that in our area that most people feel the same way. Thank you very much.
Ms. Dowse?
So, I am going to support Molly Munger's initiative because the money bypasses the legislature and goes directly to school districts. But it's not ideal. But my highest priority is are the 10,000 students that we have in our school district, and we're trying to give them a quality, world-class education on $6,004 per student. When you have some students that cost you $150,000 for a single student. So philosophically, I absolutely agree with lots of the positions here, but for me, I can't afford, and I don't think our society can afford, one more generation of kids' education lost because we can't seem to fund education in this state.
Mr. Gieslinger?
Well, there were some good answers given here. I think probably I could agree with almost all of them, but I guess I would have to say no, I would not support them, and I kind of have to piggyback on what Jan said. It forces us in education to be creative. I've been there, I know. It forces us to look at doing things in a different way, and I think that's good. It bothers me that we will spend $100,000 a year to incarcerate a person, but we won't spend more than $6,000 a year to educate a student. There's something wrong with that, and I don't know how we can change that philosophy, but I would probably have to say, no, I don't think we need any more taxes. I would agree with Renee that maybe a parcel tax locally. Thank you.
Okay, for our next question, this is one for the Roseville Joint High School District, so our first 4 candidates. And this time we'll begin with Mr. Genslinger. Have you received any PAC money for your campaign?
Simple answer, no.
No.
I've received money from no one other than me.
I agree. I do this because it's my way to serve the community. I don't accept or solicit any donations from anybody.
Mr. Aguilera?
I would love to receive some money from some of you today or some of you online. That's one thing. that is definitely needed is money to run campaigns. I have not raised too much money. My roommate from UC Davis, who works for Morrison and Forster, he gave me $500, and one of my friends gave me $25, another one $15. So I haven't raised that much money, but I am, very, very energetic about being on the school board. Again, Renee Aguilera, the new face of the new generation of the student. The Punjabi students at Wood Creek, the Russian students in Antelope, the Latino students at Roseville High, all the great students at Granite Bay, and all the diversity at Oakmont. Thank you.
No.
Okay, this next question is for the Eureka School District candidates, and we'll begin with Ms. Nash. There was a leadership report that identified dysfunction on the Eureka School District Board. What do you attribute to the dysfunction?
Thank you. I did review that extensive report, which was prepared by a search firm hired to find our new superintendent, and they interviewed over 400 people from all different aspects of our community, so I put a lot of faith in the conclusions. I think there was too long a time spent between when our last permanent superintendent was let go and when the new one was hired. I think there was, as the report alluded to, a lack of understanding of the appropriate role of the Board of Trustees during that period of time. And when you have lack of cohesive, consistent leadership, you tend not to have a lot of enthusiasm for the people that work within the confines of that. There were 4 interim superintendents in a 12, 14-month period, and that's never a good thing. Consistency and leadership is a hallmark of a quality organization, and I'm hopeful and confident that the new permanent superintendent will be around for as long as Dr. Feist, because I have every confidence in Linda Rooney.
Mr. Ryan?
Well, I do. I first want to say how much confidence I do have in Ms. Rooney. I think she definitely is the way of the future for us. What I would say is I think the leadership report was excellent because it gives us feedback as a board as to what the community thinks. Because sometimes you don't have that perspective that you need to. And one of the comments was about the team building part of it. And I think I said at the beginning was I'm all about Team Eureka. And I think if the board and the staff and the teachers and everybody aren't on the same page, you really aren't going to move this thing forward. And one of the issues I had, or that was pointed out, was about micromanaging of the board. And I do have a philosophy as a board member that I'm not a professional educator. We hire professional educators who know the ins and outs of education. I'm somebody who can call like it is. If I don't see something right, I will let them know. But I think you give them the autonomy, the creativity to do what is right and do what is good for our kids.
Ms. Grace?
Yes, thank you. I too took that survey and studied it carefully and felt that it was a very useful tool and something that we need to pay attention to. I think that as board members that there are 3 responsibilities that we really need to adhere to. One is that our role, part of our role is that we articulate any our stance, questions, concerns about any particular issue, and that we do so in a professional and courteous manner. Secondly, I think that any member of the public or any colleague should have the opportunity to also to do that, and that means to listen, professionalism and courtesy. And third, that before making any decision, that you must consider what your colleagues and the public have said before making a decision. And I feel that those 3 elements are something that we're working on and we're making progress with. So I think the study was something that was very helpful. It's something I certainly took to heart and appreciated the feedback. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to address this question to all the candidates. And we'll begin first with Mr. Genslinger. What is the district actively doing to reduce and address bullying of children, and especially children with special needs? What changes would you recommend?
Well, we have policies against bullying, obviously. We have trained our administrators to watch for bullying. We have counselors that have made it very clear to students that maybe are getting bullying to come and talk to them. Obviously, we as board members aren't going to be there, monitoring the campus and walking around. But bullying does not belong anywhere. We have had safe and secure, and we want parents to feel that their students are safe and secure. As far as special ed, I have a daughter that works for the district, and believe me, she looks out for as many of those students as she can.
Mr. Kinney?
I think one of the most effective things that we've done was started by Mr. Genslinger when he was board president 2 or 3 years ago. And that was getting the kids before they're re-entered. There's a recidivism with bullying just the same way there's a recidivism with other crimes. And one of the things that he instituted that I think was a wonderful idea was having the young people, before we readmit them to school, come before the board and report on what they were going to do and commit to how they're going to do it. That was very effective and just one of the things that we're doing.
Mr. Aguilera?
Yes, bullying is very pervasive. If the employees or if the school lunch monitors are not looking out for it. And I personally, in all the campuses that I've gone to, and I've visited all of the campuses, mainly Roseville High, I have not seen any bullying, so that's a good thing. I think that what we need to do is have more character education, and they do that in elementary and junior high. It may be a little bit harder to do it in high school, but character education, have respect amongst all people, especially other cultures, and definitely no name calling. So luckily there are some bullying policies that are in place that will allow for people to be punished if in fact they do that, like a senior to a freshman or a sophomore to a freshman, things of that nature.
Ms. Nash?
Thank you. Well, I'm not on the school board quite yet, so I'm not going to speak to what the board has done, but I will say from my experience that I believe our schools have done an excellent job from the top down implementing anti-bullying policies, and actually the EUSD level have pretty significant programs designed around teaching different character. I know at Ridgeview they have a great program where each month they have a different character, and they have assemblies around that, and I think they do an amazing job. As a special education, my philosophy is the same as it is for educating any child, and that is we have a legal as well as a moral obligation to provide the very best education that we can to every single boy and girl that enters our district, and we need to use the limited resources that we have to provide that very best opportunity we can for each and every child,
Mr. Jones?
Yes, thank you. I think we'd be naive to think that bullying and cyberbullying doesn't happen even in our district. And I think the policies we have are good, and I know at the school sites they each do have policies. I think what is a good thing that we have is really the education. And I know personally that a touch of understanding comes on the campus and campuses, and I know they've spoken to my own children. My children will come home and say, do you know what it's like for an autistic kid to have to deal with all the sounds and touch feels and everything? And to me, that's probably one of the better ways to teach about bullying and cyberbullying, is to help them have that empathy and sympathy for kids that might be a little bit different from them. And I personally come from a mother who was a special education teacher of 37 years in the California district, and it was cemented in me at a very early age that this is a very special crowd that needs to be taken care of, and also to be educated upon for the rest of the children in the district.
Ms. Grace?
Yes, thank you. We do have programs at each of our campuses. One thing that I would like to see is perhaps a more uniform protocol and policies across our district with our campuses. We have recently spoke at the last board meeting about cyberbullying and some of the things that we can put into place to help prevent that. One of the things that I think is very important, and we talk about it in a lot of different areas, is the triangle of parent, teacher, and child. And I think that it comes into play very much in this situation, and that these situations need to be addressed as a team, and that we all have a responsibility in teaching these morals and values to our children. And I believe that all categories of students need to be protected, and every student, special ed or otherwise, deserve to be protected and should not have an experience of bullying, and we should do the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Dowse?
As all of you, I'm certain, are aware, bullying has kind of gone to new lengths when you have Twitter and Facebook, and particularly high school kids who believe they're anonymous, although we're teaching them that perhaps is not the case, that you're anonymous just because you're on a social network. But our district addressed this year by implementing a new policy on bullying, and I agree with the others. You know, every student has value, and the biggest thing that the board can do is just simply make it a topic of discussion so that people are aware.
Okay, we'll have another question here, but before we do, Ms. Nash, I think there's a little trouble with your microphone. So if you still have trouble with it, it seems to be cutting out. Would you mind sharing perhaps? There we go.
Sure.
Thank you. So with this next question, we'll begin first with Mr. Aguilera. And I'm going to ask this of all the candidates this time. What do you think the district can do to increase parent participation and involvement at school board meetings and events? And how do you think that would help the district?
Well, having just attended the 100th year centennial of Roseville High School, the Boosters Club there, just like on most campuses, was just fantastic. They had about 3,500 people at the game, many parents, and that to me is parent involvement. Now, what we do need to work on is parent involvement with English language learner students, which would be our Russian students, our Punjabi students, our mainly Mexican American students. We need to get them more involved in the process. I myself came from a Mexican American family. My father worked for 42 years on the railroad, and he had a 6th grade education. But yet he came to a lot of my games. He was involved, as well as my mother. And so, we just need to get more minority parents involved in their education. So what I would do is what I'm doing now. I go to the meetings and talk to them in their language, especially Spanish, which I speak, and just, tell them that, I'm a model for them. I graduated from UC Davis. I graduated from the local schools.
Ms. Nash?
Thank you. I've attended virtually every meeting over the last 4 years, and I definitely have some ideas about improving attendance. First is a very simple and technical one. It's very difficult to hear in that room, and I would be strongly in favor of purchasing a microphone system so that people can actually hear. I think they're more likely to stick around for the meetings. Secondly, what I've observed over the last particularly year to year and a half is there's far too many special meetings. I think when you have a lot of special meetings, it makes it more difficult for people to come. You don't know what's necessarily special when you have as many special meetings as our district has had. And I know that we've been faced with a lot of issues, but the reality is with better planning and better leadership, we could significantly reduce the number of meetings and streamline the amount of time that they take. Meetings going until 11, 12 o'clock at night, no one is going to come because you could sit there for 3 hours and your item has not come up yet. So we need to do a better job of meeting management and making the environment more conducive. Thank you.
Mr. Jones?
Sure. I think, first of all, attendance at our meetings is pathetic to start. I mean, really, you have essentially the same 15 or so people that come to all of our meetings. So why is that? I think it's not because I know our parents. Our parents are very active and very committed to their children. So I think it's because they don't know about them. I think the communication is what's got to be the key. Now, we have done the Connect Ed pieces where an email will go out highlighting the agenda item. So if you see your agenda item on there, hey, this might be a meeting I want to go to. But it still hasn't trickled into attendance yet. So I think maybe there's got to be a better way, whether it's through our website or a more maybe comprehensive communication plan to our parents to let them know this is what's going on in our meetings. Because, again, knowledge is power. I would love to have more parents at our meetings. They would know more of what's going on.
Ms. Grace?
Thank you. We certainly have addressed trying to get the message out through our Connect Ed messages. Mrs. Rooney, our new superintendent, helped us with sending out messages to families prior to every board meeting that we have, especially every regularly scheduled board meeting, which is the second Tuesday of every month. And if the agenda is broken down into bullet points, which is a little bit easier to read so that topics aren't missed inadvertently. I know that they are published in the newsletters that are sent out via the internet to each of our students, and I believe that it's just a matter of better communication on our website, which is what we're doing, and we certainly are working on that, and would love to have. I don't think it's pathetic, but I'd love to see as many people that would like to come. So.
Ms. Dowse?
I think that we're particularly blessed to live in communities where we have extremely active parent participation, and parents are very aware of what the kids are doing in school and seem to be very connected. We do have a program at our continuation school that we started with our assistant principal and with our resource officer, where they actually go into communities, particularly with Spanish-speaking parents, to teach the Spanish-speaking parents how to get connected to the school district, how to get online, how to look for their students' data, and how really the basics of how you communicate with schools. That, as far as board meetings, we're in the high school district, and when we have a lot of people at a board meetings, there's something wrong, which we're not too interested in, but we saw part of that is putting your minutes online so that they are public and easily available on the website anytime anyone wants to look at them.
Mr. Genzinger?
Paige is absolutely right. If you really want to get a lot of people coming to a board meeting, have something controversial on the agenda, and I guarantee they'll show up. We've had it happen. We don't want controversial things. That's not what we're about. High school district is a little different than, in my opinion, an elementary district, not just the age of the students. There's a lot of activities that are going on, sporting events, evening programs that parents are going to attend, dance programs, music programs. I used to hold financial aid programs, college night. A parent could go to something at the school almost every night of the week if they so decided to do that. But think about it, you're never going to be home. I don't know that that's always such a good thing, but if there's something going on in the school district, people, and if it's not good, people will show up. I got to tell you very honestly, I want things to run smoothly.
Mr. Penny?
I was thinking over the last 17 and a half years, the largest board meeting that I remember was a parking problem at one of the high schools. And we had parents out the door. In fact, I think we had to move to a theater to deal with it. We had a couple of other controversies where we had a lot of people there too. But again, that was bad news, not good news. For the most part, on the high school district, if you don't have a lot of people at your board meetings, that's probably a good thing because you're taking care of business. Most of the votes that we have are 5-0. We're a very cohesive, student-oriented board, and there's not much controversy. And most of our meetings, in fact, our last few have been over within an hour because we do our homework beforehand, and we work together well as a group.
Okay, this question is for the Roseville High School District candidates. And this time we'll begin with Mr. Penny. What do you think is the biggest issue facing the district, and what are your plans to address the issue?
I think the biggest issue is money. We are in dire need of either changing the way we do things or in getting additional funds into the district. I personally believe, as I've already said, that if either of these tax bills pass, we'll actually receive less money. It may look good for a short time, but in the long term, I think that people that have choices will exercise those choices, and we won't have as many taxpayers in California as we currently have. So money is number one. So tied in with that very closely is innovation. We need to innovate not only how we run our schools, how we run our classrooms, maybe do some flipped classrooms where more of it is online, and the homework might be done at school when the teaching might be done online like kids learn today. There's a lot of innovative things that are happening, and we need to look at them and see what we can do to improve the educational delivery that we have
Thank
to our
you.
kids.
Mr. Aguilera?
Yes, I would also say money, and that's why I'm advocating for Proposition 30, which protects funding for schools and public safety. If we lose $10 million, then it's going to be a little bit tough for our schools, either at the elementary school district or at the high school district. Since Jan threw in another issue, charter schools, we may be losing some kids to charter schools, high school dropout rate, teenage pregnancy, immigration students, the deferred actions that are happening now for students, the DREAM Act. There's so many issues that are out there, and I think that it's important to look at all of them.
Ms. Dowse?
I mean, without question, money is the single biggest issue that we have to face, which is why it's, to me, why it's so important to keep an experienced board together, because that will be our issue. I think that we need to really, we really need to examine, I mean, this is what we've been doing for 3 years, but I think we're at a critical juncture where money is the most important issue. But the most exciting thing coming down the pike in education is really the Common Core curriculum, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. But this is where we're adopting a national standard that is looking more at critical thinking and less at standardized rote testing. That is something that I want to be a part of.
Mr. Genslinger?
I would have to agree with all the candidates that money is the biggest issue. Things we've done in the high school district, we have online learning, we have tried to expand that and do some different things with that. We have a severely handicapped program over at Challenge High School that is a fairly new program where we do not spend $100,000 to $150,000 to send students out to a private school or institution if we can serve them. We only keep them in-house if we can serve them. And again, that's out of Challenge High School. We have worked on our dropout rate. I believe, if my memory serves me, we probably have about 95% of our students actually graduate. We have a continuation school. We have an independence high school where students can do independent learning. They come in 1 or 2 hours a week. We have tried to provide everything that we can for students.
Thank you. Okay, this next question will be addressed to the Eureka School District candidates. And this time we'll begin with Mr. Jones. What is your position on a parcel tax and why?
Well, I think parcel tax is a local decision, and I think you leave it to the local people to decide. Me personally, I do have, as I mentioned before with Prop 30 and 38, I have philosophical issues with any increase in tax. I think we do need to get creative, though, where we're going to find additional funding. The Eureka Schools Foundation does an excellent job at $600,000 compared to a $24 million budget isn't going to cut it. So where that's going to come from, I think it just means we're going to have to do more with less at this point. But I think a parcel tax is something that I personally have issues with, but I think it's something that the local constituency can decide what they want to do.
Ms. Grace?
Well, I'll be clear, I am opposed to a partial tax. As I mentioned, I do not believe that it is the solution to our educational funding problem. I have been a strong advocate of strategically using our ample reserve fund to augment our spending cuts. And we still have enough funds to remain, we still have more than enough funds, to maintain our current board policy on reserve. And so a partial tax would not be something that I would consider while we still sit on unused tax dollars. Thank you.
Ms. Nash?
Thank you. Obviously, no one wants to pay more taxes, myself included, and as I alluded to earlier, I'm against both of the propositions. And obviously, to the extent we have ample reserves and we don't need to make cuts that harm the students too draconianly, I would also be opposed to any other type of tax. However, when the This nation set up its system of education. It set it up based upon local control, which is very different from a lot of other countries around the world. And we do have a supermajority provision which allows for local tax. If a tax was crafted appropriately, if it had a sunset on it, if it was limited to specific things, I would consider voting on it. But it would not be my decision alone, obviously. It would be the will of the public, because that would be the only type of additional tax for education that I could conceivably favor if it was well crafted, because as I alluded to earlier, it would keep those dollars local and it would provide for local control. Thank you.
I'm going to address this question to all the candidates, and this time we'll begin with Ms. Nash. What is your educational background and work experience that qualifies you for a seat on the board?
Sorry, I'll do it again. Thank you. Graduated from high school in San Diego and moved up to this area where I attended and graduated from the University of California at Davis with a degree with honors. Then went on to attend the McGeorge School of Law in Sacramento, where I graduated fourth in my class. I have extensive work experience not only as an attorney, but in areas of human resources, where I was corporate counsel for McClatchy Newspapers in charge of human resources throughout the nation. I have extensive experience managing large companies, managing employment stock option plans, handling contract negotiations, working in areas of legislative advocacy, and my skill set is absolutely directly on target to the types of issues that a school board has to address. And so I think I am eminently qualified to hit the ground running. I'm also a recognized statewide expert in areas of Public Records Act and open meeting laws, and was actually hired by the State Attorney General's office to teach other lawyers around the state. Thank you.
Mr. Jones?
Sure. I'm a proud product of the California public school system, having gone through kindergarten all the way through UCLA, for that matter, graduating in economics. Did go to an Ivy school and earned the Ivy diploma, so I know there's some value in that. But after UCLA, had gone on to Penn State for law school, and then professionally went right into the military at that point as an Air Force officer, and took a lot of other continuing education through that. There's a lot of leadership courses that you take as a military officer, and obviously the experience that you get in leadership, commanding troops and doing those sorts of things, including deployments overseas, I think all help me provide that leadership, provide sound judgment when it comes to serving on the school board. And then now I think running my own law firm here in Roseville, I think is valuable, because I do have to balance my own budget, have to figure how am I going to continue to make payroll and do these things and continue to be innovative to serve my customers, just like a school board has to serve its customers, or they're going to go somewhere else.
Ms. Grace?
Thank you. Well, I am college educated and have worked as a medical professional for over 20 years, but something that I find interesting that I've said before is that I honestly believe that there is not a position out there, with the exception of perhaps a superintendent with many years of experience, that prepares you for being a board member. Certainly there are attributes that can help you, but there certainly is a very interesting learning curve. So my experience for the last 4 years is what qualifies me to continue to be a board member. In addition, I have attended Masters in Governance courses, classes with CSBA, seminars, webinars, on my own dime on all but one occasion, to provide myself with some professional learning opportunities and help myself be a better board member. Thank you.
Ms. Strauss?
Hi, I have a bachelor's of science from UC Berkeley. I have an MBA from UC Berkeley. I worked for my last job was at a computer company, working in finance for all of my business career. But that was a very long time ago. For the last 25 years, since I decided to stay home and be a full-time mom to 4 kids, I really studied education. So I've now studied education much longer, including looking at high achievers, looking at really learning about special ed. I really get involved in curriculum issues, because that's really what I'm passionate about. And school in the Eureka School, or in the Eureka School District and
Thank
the
you.
high school district.
Mr. Genslinger?
Okay, my background, everybody seems to have been from California. I'm a South Dakota farm boy. I went to college in South Dakota, graduated from South Dakota State University. I was 21 years old. I had a Bachelor of Science degree with a major in English. My first job was teaching with the Anaheim High School District. I taught 2 years with the Anaheim High School District, went back to school full-time, got my master's in secondary school administration, and then came to Roseville. I spent 36 years as a teacher, coach, 9 years as a coach and a teacher, again teaching English at Roseville High School, and then became a counselor, retired as a counselor for 27 years, or after 27 years. You asked me if I'm qualified. I think I have a little bit of knowledge of education. I've been through a lot of boards. I've been through a lot of superintendents. I'm still here. They're gone. Okay? I have a passion for education. I like kids.
Mr. Penny?
I want to say both these people are immensely qualified, and I think they're awesome. I went into the military after high school. I was drafted. I went to infantry OCS and became a commissioned officer, served as an officer for a couple of years, and then was released. I went from private to captain in 3 years. One of the things that I didn't know I had to do when I agreed to do that was be in the reserves, and in the reserves they sent me to California one summer, and I loved it. So I moved here and opened a business here 40 years ago. I have 63 local employees, and we have offices in Chicago, Spokane, I had to write them down, Boise, Charlotte, Oklahoma City, Houston, Philadelphia, and San Francisco. I have been in leadership positions with many organizations. I was on the Sacramento County Red Tape Task Force. I've been president of both state and local professional associations. I've got several professional designations, and I'm out of time.
Thank you. Mr. Aguilera?
Yes, I must acknowledge School Board Member Genslinger. Not only was he a great counselor, but he was also a great coach at Roseville High School. And I did go to one of his financial aid workshops that he had in the cafeteria. My parents were there. We got straightened out to get to UC Davis, and I got a little bit of scholarship, a little bit of work study, a little bit of Pell Grant, Cal Grant A, and being, not only did I graduate from Davis, but also my two brothers, and I mentioned my sister as well. I also have a master's in governance from the California School Boards Association. I've also been involved with, I just enrolled in the Sheriff's Academy. I've been in the FBI Academy. I've been in the Roseville City Academy, Roseville Leadership Program. I'm on the U.S. Army Grassroots Committee, so I'm very involved in continuing education. And my job that I have done, and that my brothers do, and my sisters, we all work for the state of California.
Okay, I'm going to address this question again to the entire field here. And we'll begin with Mr. Jones. What is your vision of the future for the district?
Well, I think that's a great question because, as I mentioned from the beginning, I think more about the vision of the district than almost as much as the present, because I'm going to be here for the next 12 years with my own children. And so I really think that the district is in a good place, a very good place. But we've got to continue to move forward. And I think part of those things is looking at what is out there, maybe what other opportunities, whether that's a charter school, maybe we developed a STEM school at Cabot. I think you've got to figure, not just for the sake of change, but look to see, is there a new educational format that we want to have at maybe some or all of our schools? And certainly not, wouldn't close my eyes to any other options. I really do think the 21st century learning skills that we have focused in our classroom are excellent. I think my goal is for these children to be qualified, in the global economy, because they are competing for very difficult jobs, and I think they've got to have an educational background that helps them to compete in a worldwide economy.
Ms. Grace?
I also agree that some of the programs that we've been installed that we are using, STEM, for example, at both Cabot and Olympus are very important. And the vision is that we continue the progress that we've made. We are the highest ranked school in the greater Sacramento area, all the way to the Oregon border. We're doing phenomenally, but there is room for improvement. And so always, I think it's our obligation to review annually things like IB, charter. I think that it's very important that we stay informed and updated. And the Challenge 21 program is something that we're very proud of, especially because it is a homegrown product, if you will, and there's a lot of ownership that our teachers take in that. So my vision would be to continue with growth and improvement.
Ms. Dowse?
The primary goal of your school board, I think, is to pay attention to vision and where you think your district is going in the long run. And we've devoted a lot of energies. We have a vision committee within our school districts where we, every couple of months, we take the time and schedule a meeting and require our administrators to really sit down and stop and look at where we want to be some years down the road. And there are several things. Ms. Finney referred to a flipped classroom, and I think that is the vision. That is where we're going. Is a lot more online learning. But I think one of the most important things that we need to look at now that we are a district that's all on a block schedule, I think we need to look at providing an alternative to those kids who are not successful at block schedule. It's just one example, but I think we need to be constantly looking at what our future is.
Mr. Ginsberger?
Okay, Paige didn't go farther enough with what she said. Jan and Paige are both on the vision committee, and they do an outstanding job. We have different committees at the high school level. We have facilities, finance committees, and so on. But Jan and Paige have done an outstanding job with the vision committee. They meet with the administrators, teachers, etc., and then come back and report to the entire board. And we are looking at a different kind of schedule other than the 4x4 schedule, because some students just don't work real well with that. And we need to provide a delivery service that will work for students, and that's what it's about. I'm going to let Jan tell you about the rest of it, because he's a good visionary.
Mr. Finney?
Thank you, Gary. I want to say, first of all, I failed to mention that I also have a degree in business management, a BS. And that brings to mind the fact that one of our major areas of focus for the last 5 years has been in the area of preparing kids, giving kids choices so they can go to school. So in terms of A to G, where they can get into any college in California that's a public institution, we've doubled the number of kids that are eligible at our most challenged high school. Some of the schools like Granite Bay, you couldn't double because they were already doing so well, but every single school has gone up substantially. With Common Core, the IB, with the various academies we have at various schools, we have a biomedical academy at one of the schools, health academy, we have an engineering academy. We are one of the top districts in the state.
Mr. Aguilera?
Yes, I'm a founder and coordinator of a youth leadership conference that I've done in Roseville and at Sierra College for the last 12 or 13 years, and we bring in mentors, and the mentors can be doctors or poets or nurses or teachers to talk to the students about maybe careers that they may be interested in. I feel I'm a visionary as well, and I think I'd make a great addition. I'm asking for your vote, again, Renee Aguilera. And I also want to say that I know that Roseville High School is an avid demonstration school, and that is a great thing. Also, the culinary program there, as well as other schools, is fantastic. One of the things that I would want to bring to Oakmont is to have a conference to talk about health pathways, because we have a lot of health careers that are in this area. And so I'm definitely interested in helping in that.
Ms. Nash?
Thank you. I believe we can and must do a better job of engaging our teachers to find out different innovative ways that we can bring that 21st century way of learning into the classroom. We need to ensure that our teachers have the right technology so that they can be best utilized, and that the students have the right technology so that they can be part of a productive workforce in the new world that we all live in. And I do think in our district, we need some sort of a vision task force to decide what we want this district to look like in 3 years, in 5 years, and in 10 years. We're now relying extensively on our inter-district transfers to help balance our budget and keep all of our schools open. And while we're certainly grateful for the excess revenue that those students provide, because our school is so desirable, we need to make a decision as a community what type of district we want to be going forward. And we need the input from everybody. The district is here to serve the students in the best way we can, and so ultimately all decisions must be based upon providing each and every student with the best education. But we have a lot of bright people in this community, parents, business owners, and other residents whose kids have gone through the district. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this is going to have to be our last question of the evening. Unfortunately, we're kind of running low on time, and hoping to give you a little more time for this question, but I don't think I can, so we'll have to be succinct. And I apologize we didn't get through all the questions. I'm hoping that the candidates can stay after the forum to answer any specific questions we weren't able to get to tonight. So for our last question, we'll begin with Ms. Grace, and it's a two-part question. What is your greatest strength that you think will help you in your role as a board member? And what is your greatest weakness that will challenge you in your role as a board member?
Question. My greatest strength, I think that I bring a level of professionalism and courtesy. I have a demeanor that encourages positive dialogue with my colleagues and with stakeholders in the community. And I think that that's something that we're working very hard to do as a board. It's something that's important and has long been needing some attention. As far as my weakness, I would have to say, well, I only got 30 seconds, so if I talk about my strengths for a little bit longer, I won't get to any weaknesses. My weakness, perhaps, is that I'm a little lengthy. My weakness is 15 seconds. I'm sure I have plenty. I've made mistakes, but I own them. But it's a work in progress, and thank you. Stop sign, sorry.
Ms. Dowse?
I think my greatest strength, particularly as a board member, but in life also, is that I love to learn and I educate myself so that when I'm asked to make difficult decisions, which as a school board member, you are asked to make a lot of difficult decisions. There's a lot about this job that we all do with passion and for free that isn't very fun. But I take it upon myself to make sure that I'm educated and I look at data so that I make decisions that are well informed. One of the things I don't do quite so well is sometimes I think maybe I should be a little more aggressive in terms of actually at a school board meeting being more aggressive. I'll work on that.
Mr. Genslinger?
I would say probably my greatest strength is the common sense I bring to the board, and I think all of us have common sense, but coming from the Midwest, it's just ingrained deeply in me. I have a passion for education. I think I've proven that with the last 47 years, counting the time that I've spent on the board. I care immensely about kids. I don't run for an office just because I want to use it as a stepping stone to get somewhere else. I've kind of shown that. I have no desire to go anywhere else other than to contribute to being a board member and educating kids. Weakness, I would have to say that these two people on each side of me have probably made me a much better board member, because as an educator, sometimes you have blinders on and you only look straight at what you see as a classroom teacher. Oh, rats. Okay.
Mr. Penny?
I want to tell you, these two people have many, many more pluses than, and I can't think of one minus, but they're great board members. I think my strength is in the area of innovation, creativity, and I'm pretty good watching the buck. And I think that shows that some of the things that we're doing, we need to continue to do more of that. Weakness, I am impatient. I'm frustrated sometimes that it takes longer than I think it should to make positive improvements. And I'm not sure I'm going to work on that one.
Mr. Aguilera?
Yes, again, Renee Aguilera, candidate for Roseville Joint Union High School District. Please vote for me. There's 4 great people up here. You have 3 votes, but all I need is 1. I believe my unique background and experience in a variety of non-educational roles makes me a strong addition to this Board of Education. I'm a board member of the Roseville Coalition of Neighborhood Associations, member of the Lions Club, member of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm involved with the Latino Leadership Council. Just this week, I went to 4 high schools to try and register kids to vote for the Placer High School Outreach Education Program. So I like to be out in the community. I like to organize. I like to talk to people. I'm outgoing. I love to speak Spanish to the Spanish-speaking, and I just enjoy being a public official. My weakness is that maybe sometimes I do too much in a single day, but I know when I rest that I'm doing the public service.
Ms. Nash?
Thank you. I'm actually going to start with the negative, which in my case is pretty easy. I share Mr. Pinney's characteristic of being impatient. I see things that need to be done, and I want to roll up my sleeves, and I want to do them right away. I think what makes me a highly qualified candidate is I'm a proven leader. I've gotten a lot of things done in this community, all of which, I must say, have come with the help of fabulous people, whether it's through the foundation, through establishing the Roseville Theater Arts Academy, through the sports leagues that I've been involved with. I think I'm very good at coalescing and harnessing the phenomenal passion that this community has for serving kids, for making this the best community that we can possibly have. And I look forward to harnessing those skills and that passion for this community and mostly for kids as a member of the Eureka Union School District Board of Trustees. Thank you.
Mr. Jones?
Sure. I think my greatest strength is in sound judgment and moral resolve. I think over my past 4 years on the board, I vote with one simple mantra: what do I think is best for kids? So although I may have lots of emails and lots of contacts from people on one side or versus the other, if they know that I'm voting because I think this is what's right for kids, I feel like I can go back to them and explain that vote. And I think that's something that I think is a quality for me, that regardless of all the loud noises, I'm going to do what I think is right. The negative, and my wife can attest to this right here, is finding balance. It's very hard when you have 4 young children, including a baby, you have a full-time job, you have an Air Force job on the side, all these things going on, but you know, I guess what you do is when you want something done, you ask a busy person to do it. So I'm all for my commitment to the board and want to continue to serve on the board for another 4 years, so thank you.
Okay, and now we're going to have each candidate make a 1-minute closing statement, and we're going to reverse the order from their opening statements. So we'll begin with Ms. Grace.
Thank you very much. In closing, I'd just like to reiterate what an amazing school district we have with outstanding teachers and administrators and parents, and thankfully a wonderful and wonderfully permanent superintendent, Mrs. Gurney, that we're so grateful for. We do have a team that's like a family in Eureka Union School District, and I'm really grateful for that. It's a really good feeling, and I think that it's what brings all of us to events like this and many others in our community. And I asked for your vote in November because I want to continue to work towards the district goals. There's something I believe in very, very much, and I place a great amount of value on, not only for my own children, but for all of our children. I appreciate your time, and I also just want to take a brief moment to say thank you to my husband and my children, their patience and understanding for all of the time that Mom has spent. I have another minute?
They only get 1 minute.
Okay, all right. Then I want to also thank my grandma. I will end it with that, just showing appreciation for my family and all the people that have shown support and kind words. Thank you.
Mr. Jones?
Sure, thank you to everybody who came out tonight. For me, I couldn't be more excited about the direction of this district. I'm so proud of what has happened over the past 4 years and think we have room to grow. And as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm all about Team Eureka. And maybe it's my sports background, maybe it's a military background, I don't know, but I believe that you move things forward through group. And I think we have an awesome group, whether it's the staff that works in this district or the parents business leaders. There's so many wonderful raw products that we have to work with. I just think the future's limitless for us, and I appreciate your vote, and thank you for attending tonight.
Ms. Nash?
Thank you. It's really been an honor and a privilege to work to raise money, to coach youth sports, and to do a lot of things involving kids in this community for the last close to 2 decades. I love the Granite Bay, Roseville area. I'm committed in everything I do to making a difference in this community, and I think my background and my skill set, my leadership qualities, evidence that I would be an excellent member of the Eureka Union School District Board of Trustees, and if I'm elected, it will be my privilege to serve. If I'm not elected, please know that I will continue in my quest to be the best member of this community I can. I'm passionate about community service, about education, and first and foremost about kids. So I'm going to be a fixture in this community. I'm really honored by the outpouring of support and endorsements that I've received, and I thank you very much for all of your time and coming out here tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Aguilera?
Yes, I too would like to thank all the parents and the teachers and the students that are doing their homework. Hopefully they're going to get extra credit for being here. Thank you for coming out. I also want to acknowledge 2 other great board members in the Roseville Joint Union High School District that are here, Linda Park and also Scott Huber. I believe in the work that is being accomplished by the district staff and teachers in these difficult financial times. I believe that it requires collaborative and educated leaders to keep the focus on teaching and learning. My focus will be to ensure the district is financially sound while keeping funding closest to the classroom needs, to ensure that students are in innovative 21st century classrooms and schools, and support the strong educational programs that are already at the Roseville Joint Union High School District. Again, my name is Renee Aguilera. I just need one vote from you guys. I know this is the Granite Bay area, but I'm also asking votes from Antelope and from Wood Creek, from Oakmont, from Roseville High, and thank you very much.
Mr. Penny?
One of the things I've realized, Renee, I want to thank Renee for helping me realize I'm not a politician. I just want to serve. I feel like I have the ability to help our educational opportunities that we offer to our kids get better and better. And I've been doing that for a long time. I really enjoy it. It's my golf or whatever. It's just what gets me up in the morning and what keeps me going. The fact that our school board president and Scott Huber and Linda Parker are here to support the 3 of us that are running for re-election this year speaks volumes about the cohesiveness of our board and how we are together, and we're trying to continue to make things better for the kids. I believe that public education must work. When I got involved 20 years ago, I was frustrated, and I'm still a little frustrated with some things, but things are moving ahead excellent. 8 kids have
Thank
gone
you.
through these districts, and
I'm sorry.
I'm done. Sorry.
Mr. Genslinger?
Can I give him about 10 seconds of my time? Okay, I'm going to date myself a little bit, and I'm going to talk fast. I'm going to use an analogy because as an ex-English teacher, I love analogies. If you ever driven a team of horses, and probably know, most of you probably have never driven a team of horses, but when you have 5 people pulling together in the same direction, and I'm talking about the existing board, the board that we have presently with the Roseville High School District, you can get an awful lot done when you're all pulling together. Sometimes you have to compromise, and we do that beautifully. Nobody gets angry, nobody gets upset. Our votes are almost always a 5-0. We work together well. I would like to see that maintained. I think at the trying times that are coming up with the budgets and money, we need a board that's experienced. Jan, Paige, and I, I'm sorry, Linda and Scott, we're kind of the older people here on the board. We've been here a while.
A minute goes quickly. Ms. Dowse?
Students are the center of all we do. That's what the mission statement is of the Roseville Joint Union High School District. Between the 3 of us, I think we have 17 kids. I mean, but we're very familiar with the school district and have been here for a long time. And sometimes that's a negative. In this instance, it's positive. When I when I look at the passion and the commitment, Mr. Penny has been on this board 17 and a half years and was willing to take a day off work to go to San Francisco to study Common Core. He still has the same drive to make us a better place. That's important. We're all committed to maintaining the school district, and this is a time when I think you need collaboration in your leadership to continue going in that direction. Thank you so much for hosting us tonight.
Thank you. And that concludes our forum. Let's now give all candidates a big hand. Thank you for participating tonight, and thank you to all the volunteers who have made this forum possible. As you know, this is not the only thing that will be on your ballot. There are 11 ballot measures as well. We do have some information in the back of the room, some easy voter guides that might help you in making some of your other decisions. We also have a couple of lead volunteers that have some voter registration forms if you need them, or if you want to take them for somebody else that you know who needs them. And to help make you make up your mind on the ballot measures, we do have some forums that public forums that we're hosting that will describe the pros and cons of the ballot measures. In fact, we have one coming up here in Granite Bay on October 9th. It's at 5:30 at the Church of the Resurrection. It includes a wonderful lasagna dinner for only $5. So if you can make it, great. There's more information on our website, which is lwvplacercounty.org. And in addition to information about these events, we also have the Easy Voter Guide you can download, another publication called Pros and Cons, which has more information, links to all sorts of ballot information that you might want to take a look at. And I don't know if you noticed, but this program is being recorded tonight and will be available online. I don't have a URL for you yet. They will be putting one together tonight, and they're going to make it available to all the candidates to put on their website. So if you want to go to a candidate's website in a couple days, you should be able to see that in case you missed something during the forum or somebody you know missed it. So I hope this forum has helped you understand and get to know the candidates a little better. And please make sure you vote on November 6th and help make our democracy work. Thank you.